What was that?
I just asked you if this was the subdivision that opposed the Nicholson gravel extraction. You remember that? I think it's in the area.
This is Lewis and Pump.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
You tell me when you're ready and I'll start rolling.
Sorry.
But it's okay.
Found out. To go online. Go to the county. Should have been funny. I know. I just have another one. Oh, did you? Sometimes there's a delay, so she has to register.
No worries.
On another note, how far out are we on building permits right now?
It's been 3 or 4 weeks. This has been pretty good.
Pretty good.
Said we were going to get them all in table.
Good.
Yeah, there's money for planning. It must be. Start cranking. Come on, machine.
And your extra payment come back?
No, the permit tech comes back a week from today. Yeah, so you're all looking back to that. March 8th, date is in week. Isn't it nice? That always is lumpy. Oh. It's done.
That's always good.
I know the name. I don't think I've ever met him, but everything.
We're not on the record. Who was it?
Tom and
yeah. He seems like okay. So he was
Normally
super happy. So
he's ex-law enforcement. And
or live stream.
well, he's ex-law enforcement. That's what I'll say.
So
Yeah. Good feedback.
if you guys care, sometimes I'll scan them.
Yeah.
Just let you know. It's always good to get good news.
It's so good to get good news.
Yeah.
especially he's kind of a nitpicker. He's part of a
Totally happy. So
good.
I'm going to shoot Ryan. I've made you presenter, and if you'll share your screen. And
gotcha.
So before we're like live on the record recording this subdivision, our engineer approved it in July. Is this back to a highway district hold? Or what takes so long after our engineer approves it?
covered your plat there. What's your floor reviews? The letter of first was October.
Can somebody explain a deed restriction?
Yes.
You go ahead.
The restriction, and it's a recorded deed.
Okay. We haven't had one of those specifically that I remember.
Okay. Ready? We're ready. We are live. Good morning. We're starting just a tad bit late. It is 11:07 on March 1st, 2021. And this is time for a scheduled public hearing to consider a request by Q10 Investments, LLC, for an approval of a preliminary plat for Hippo Estate, case number SD 2020-0014. Today, we will have an action item to consider signing the findings of fact conclusions of law and orders for this preliminary plat. I am Commissioner Smith, and also present is Commissioner Van Beek, and Monica Reeves is our Deputy Clerk and Recording Secretary for this hearing. And then in person, from Development Services, our Director, Tricia Nilsson, and then Julianne Shaw is our planner for this case. This case is being conducted via WebEx as well, and online we do have Greg Hipwell.
I can see.
And Greg, your camera might be a little bit too low.
Okay.
And then will you be the representative for yourself today?
Oh. So yeah, I'll be representing myself today. I'm working on my camera.
I can see fingertips.
Yeah, I'm working on it. You want to just turn it around?
For the record, we'll begin swearing in those testifying. So Julianne, Tricia, and Greg.
Greg Hipwell, Julianne Shaw, Tricia Nilsson, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Okay. Are there any reasons or disclosures or previous communications related to this case that should be disclosed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No.
I'm also a no. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to staff for a staff report. Julianne.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. Greg Hipple, representing himself, is looking for approval of the preliminary plat for BOCC. The location is as shown on your visuals right now. The subject property was rezoned to rural residential in 2019, case number RZ20.
It's really hard to pick you up. Can you put that closer to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that better?
There, that's a little better. Yeah, just speak bold. Thank you.
There you go. The subject property was zoned rural residential in 2019, case number RZ2019-0028. It was requested for a short plat, initially submitted, but due to hillside, constraint, that was not permitted in our code. See that okay? The board shall consider the commissioner's recommendation. The conditions will be reviewed in a moment. You shall base your findings upon the evidence presented here and I'm just trying to So this is an eight lot subdivision with one common lot to the west side for stormwater retention. The roads have been approved by the highway district. The property is not located within an area of city impact. The project is not located within an irrigation district. Irrigation will be through individual wells to irrigate up to the 1/2 acre as per Idaho Department of Water Resources. Septic systems require approval from Southwest District. Also, wells will be up to the subject property has frontage on Lewis and Pump Roads, both are public roads. Lewis Lane is classified as an arterial roadway on the functional classification roadmap. The subject property is located within Valley View School District, Upper Deer Flat Fire, and Mantle Highway District, and does not have surface water shares in the irrigation district. Notice the public hearing was provided in accordance with Kane County zoning ordinance. And 7-5-1, agency notice was provided on 9/28/20. Newspaper notice was provided on 11/4/20. Property owners within 300 feet were notified by mail on October 30th, 2020. The property was posted on November 12th, 2020. Exhibit for the Planning and Zoning Commission, although they should be in your packet. Exhibit number 8 is from Nampa Highway District. We coordinated with Nampa Highway District in the requirements that Nampa Highway District wanted. Late exhibit number 9 is from Upper Deer Flat Fire District, giving 2 options to having a water resource and or structures sprinkled. Conditions of approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval on November 11th, 2020. All subdivision improvements shall be bonded or completed prior to the Board County Commission's signature on the final plat. Historic irrigation lateral drainage ditch floor patterns shall be maintained unless approved in writing by the local irrigation district or ditch company. Finished grades at subdivision boundaries shall match existing finished grades. Runoff shall be maintained on subdivision property unless otherwise approved. Propose a short-term plan that will protect the roadside swales from disturbance as a result of home construction on individual lots. Prior to final plat approval, provide a long-term plan for protection and maintenance of roadside swales. In other words, for example, planting of trees, filling and regrading the swales, and damage as a result of roadside. The plat shall meet Nampa Highway District number 1 standards and comply with all conditions as listed in Planning Commission late exhibit number 8. Plat shall meet Upper Deer Flat Fire District conditions as listed in Planning Commission late exhibit number 9. The final plat shall be signed and certified by Southwest District Health prior to the Board of County Commissioners' signature on the final plat. And I will stand for any questions.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
I have a question as it relates to the fire district. They have some conditions that automatic sprinklers be installed in accordance with the NFPA 13D and then the firefighting water supply. But in the conditions of approval, I don't see that is listed as a condition. Am I missing it, or can you provide more feedback?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. That was the board did not want to see those
Right.
on the plat. The access requirements are already in our ordinance, so
Yes.
it did not add a condition. If the applicant wants to have a agreement with the fire district, that is their option.
And that, Madam Chair, was the direction that I was hoping that this would go. And so it looks like there's a letter in here from Mr. Hipwell stating that they've had conversation with the fire district and have that worked out outside of having the board put that in as a condition of approval. So thank you for that. And then, Madam Chair,
Commissioner Van Beek?
I have a question regarding the irrigation. So there's no surface water right on this. They get a half acre, but it's 2 acre lot. So what will they do for the rest of that irrigation on the property? Do we know? Was that asked? Is it a part of this report?
The requirement is to have a half acre for irrigation, which is either water resources guideline, and therefore the rest of the acreage is usually left native.
Okay.
Without irrigation.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a plan, or maybe that'll be addressed in their CCNRs on how they mitigate that, but I just wanted to double check that. And then, Madam Chair, one more question. The Nampa Highway District variance, Exhibit 14, ties with the speed restriction on which is, I guess maybe that's all part of the same exhibit, but okay, it's just allowing them to have a narrower access on that. I guess I was wanting that to be put on record, that there was a variance granted on the approach.
Director Nelson, do you feel that Exhibit 1 that's late, does that give you any cause for approval of this subdivision plan?
Madam Chair, no, that is, just for the record, that's the Nampa Highway District number 1 letter dated February 24th. So that's really guidance that will, the applicant and their engineer will need to show on the final class to go through those details. For the access, they spent time going to the Highway District Board, got their variance, the restriction, and prescribed the specific points of access on the 2 public roads. I think you see most of that exhibit will be dealt with when they prepare the final plan. The Highway District has to be a signer of that, so they won't sign it until conditions are met.
And then if you look at page 2 of that, Commissioner Van Beek, it does state that they recommend that these issues be addressed at the final plat. So
thank you for that. And I'm sorry, tell me your exhibit reference again. 1 late. Okay, thank you.
And then in procedural, we need to accept this late exhibit into the record, right? Or is it okay? Oh.
Yes, yeah. I'm checking the dates on it, yeah. That would carry over from the dates on it.
Okay. Any additional questions for staff before we move to Mr. Hipwell?
No, thank you.
Right, Mr. Hipwell, you have additional testimony for us to consider?
You know what, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but it sounded like you covered the outstanding issues. So I think we're just moving.
Commissioner Van Beek did have one question regarding the 1.5 acres approximately that would not be irrigated. Do you have any comment related to that?
Well, we're going to follow the fire department's guide and doing what everybody else is doing in the area, which will be weed abatement at the end of spring to mitigate the fire risk there. But the water, there's only enough water there for the half acre of land around the house, and so there will be an acre and a half that is not watered. But the structures cover part of that, so it'll be managed in a way that everybody else is doing it in the area.
Okay, Commissioner Van Beek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question, Mr. Hipwell. It's not necessarily any part of the condition, but what's the depth that you're drilling to get to well water?
Well, my understanding, looking at boring logs in the area, there's standing water at 350 feet.
Okay.
Roughly.
Okay. So you have a significant investment as well.
Yeah, there's gonna be some wells going down for water there, yeah.
Yep. And on the hillside development, can you go to that slide? That's represented in gray on exhibit, page 3 of exhibit 1. Is that correct? So the area of concern for hillside is where that,
Exhibit 5 on yours.
So I'm looking at exhibit, I think, the small aerial photo. And there's kind of a darker area there. It starts at the end where it says Pump Road at the RD, where it says that. It goes roughly.
Are you asking for the no build?
yes,
It's identified right there
yes.
on the plat, so they wouldn't be able to build in any of that hatched area.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that, so there was a letter of concern that was submitted, and we were wanting to make sure that the lot stayed at 2 acres, but that can include the no-build portion of that lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it looks like they have plenty of buildable space. If they were lot number, that is number 3.
Yep. Is there any additional questions? Are you ready to close public testimony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we close public testimony.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to close public testimony. Any additional deliberation before we make a motion for the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the order?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate staff and the applicant standing for questions.
Thank you as well.
Okay, then with that, I move that we approve and sign the request by C10 Investments LLC for the preliminary plat for Hipwell Estates, case number SD 2020-0014, and that we sign the findings of facts and conclusions of law and order.
And accept the late exhibit 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we also accept late exhibit 1 from Nampa Highway District.
Wonderful. I will second that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hipwell. Thank you, staff. That